Good morning and welcome to the final race day of round 4 of the Idemitsu FIM Asia Road Racing Championship in the beautiful island of Lombok in Indonesia. Now, this is the brightest morning we've had so far, and there's not as much wind as there's been for the past week, so it's going to be interesting to see how that switches things up. Now, if you look at yesterday's results, it was a really exciting battle. In the TVS, it started off with a big group at the front. Hiroki Ono pulled away, but then it was a battle between Sartak, Randy, Ramdan Rosli. It was a proper hot one at the back. So it's going to be interesting to see whether they can slow Hiroki down at the start and just keep him within that group battle. Now in the Underbone 150s, it was the rise of Dimas Juliat Moko. Fast on Friday, fastest on Saturday morning for qualifying and Super Bowl, and then ultimately a race victory. It was a brilliant performance from him. Husni in second, third was Fahmi Bassam. So the championship still very much alive and very much at play. In the AP250s, it was the dominance of RB and Kritipat with Daniel Shami showing some real drama at the end. Kritipat nearly losing the front. In the end, finishing third, and Daniel Shami with a second place finish. In the 600s, Adinanta Putra putting on a very strong campaign. He had an amazing overtake on Wahyu Nugroho on the last lap, finished first, and it was also a nice first podium for Farozi in third. So we finally see Farozi now forming up very well on the 600s. And in the ASB1000, it was the dominant Hafiz Sharin winning the race by nearly 3 seconds. And then it was Nakarin and Zakwan at the end, giving us a little bit of excitement, but ultimately Nakarin getting the better of Zakwan, and they finished second and third respectively. So today, it seems to be a bit less wind, and it's going to be quite a bit warmer, so temperatures might rise all the way up to 30 degrees Celsius. Tire wear, that's going to be something we look at. There was a real big patch of cold tear on the 250s. Not something you see often, but that's just because of how Mandalika flows. And I think when the heat rises, we're going to see a bit more drama when it comes to tire maintenance and durability. And it's all down to the rider's skill and will to get it to the finish line. So without much further ado, let's head up for the first warm-up sessions for the final race day of round 4.
And a very good morning from Barry Russell in the commentary box, just overlooking the start line here. This is Sunday morning, so we have warm-up sessions for all of 5 classes, and during that time Daniel and I will be bringing you our views on what happened yesterday in each race, and we'll be bringing you rider interviews as well. So lots of entertainment throughout the morning. And looking ahead to when the warm-up sessions finish from 10:30 to 11:40, we've got our pit walk. So if you are in the area, if you're already at the circuit, or if you're hanging out in Kuta, the local town, then please do come in and meet the riders, the teams, pick up some merch, take some photographs. The pit walks are always Asia Road Racing Championship, always have a nice little carnival party feel before we get underway with the racing for race 2 in the afternoon. So as Daniel was saying, there was no surprise in the middle of the podium yesterday. The race was won by championship leader and defending reigning champion Hiroki Ono, but we did see a really tight race behind between Ramdan Rosli, Sartak Shavan, and the Indonesian rider from Papua, Randy, who made his presence felt properly for the first time in 2025. He finished on the podium in 3rd place, alongside Hiroki Ono, Sartak Shavan, who rode a very composed, Very authoritative race through to second. Nothing he could do about the pace at the front of Hiroki Ono, but he did really well. And as a British commentator, I can say it's very heartening to see a British rider for the first time in the TVS Asia One-Make Championship. We have another Brit later on, ASB1000s, that we will be talking to. This is Jack McCabe, who's done a lot of winning at youth level back in the UK. And it's been going well yesterday. He finished 20 seconds, about 18 seconds behind Hiroki Ono yesterday. So that was really good. First time aboard the TVS Apache, first time at Pertamina Mandalika. So that was a very, very creditable performance from Jack McCabe, and we hope that he will build on that and come through even more strongly in race 2 this afternoon. So there he is. We're saying best lap 1:49. That's so far. He did a 1:47.5. Fastest lap of the race was, unsurprisingly, with Hiroki Ono, that was 1:45.4. Gives you a measure, but off to a bright start on a bright morning here at Pertamina Mandalika. This is the third and final day, of course, for round 4 of the Idemitsu FIM Asia Road Racing Championship. And perhaps not so much with this championship, but in others that we'll be talking about later in the morning, we have seen the shape of the championship changing a little bit. There goes Jack McCabe. 3 laps completed for him, which is good going, and there's 10-minute session. There's just 4 remaining. The young Brit doing well to get some more laps under his belt whenever possible. Some are on track. Ramdan Rosley has put in the best time, 1:45.159. There he is. No, he's not. Lots of 2s there, but he's carrying the number 2 by virtue of the fact that he finished second in the TVS Asia One-Make Championship last year, of course, to Hiroki Ono. But Ramdan Rosley, no surprise to see him at the top of the timing screen at this stage. Always gives it his best. Chirag Vishwanath, who's been quick on Saturday, didn't quite have the race that he might have hoped for. He came in 5th, some 5 seconds, 4.5 seconds behind Hiroki Ono. Ramdan Rosley, disappointing for his championship chase. He was edged out by Rendy for the podium by 0.2 of a second. So not good news for Ramdan, but good news for the championship to see another exciting young rider coming through to prominence and onto the podium. There is the number 2 in the middle of your screen there, just zooming in on him. An incredible competitor, Ramdan Rosley, not only in his speed and his racecraft, but his mental attitude as well, because he spent the whole of 2024 chasing and chasing Hiroki Ono. He never let up the chase. He was rewarded with second in the championship, but it really took an indomitable spirit from the Malaysian to keep up the chase for that long. And he's continued the fight this year, so massive credit to Ramdan Rosley, who's the fastest rider on track in this session. 1:45.5 is, sorry, 1:45.1 is quicker than Hiroki Ono's best time in the race yesterday. So that's something to consider. It's easy not to pay too much attention to lap times during morning warm-up, but perhaps we'll note that he has found some pace that he didn't have yesterday. So we'll be watching out for that this afternoon. And there, a nice neat line, 23, 24 and 25. Shahari Dave, number 23, best lap so far for him, 148.6, 148.3 for Dexa Alfa Rosel. He finished 7th yesterday. And Ramaputra Septiawan, also promising. He was 10th yesterday with a best lap of 147.7. So these riders getting used to these bikes, which are really race bikes, but they are homologated for road use, but very, very trick machines indeed, with lots of titanium, lots of carbon fiber throughout, and continuously being upgraded. Indeed, we saw the project leader for the TVS Asia One Make Championship, none other than Warapong Malahuan, the rider who originally conceived this adventure for TVS. He was running in on Friday, free practice 1 and 2. Some new bodywork, plain bodywork, coloured to obscure the new shape, but we did have quite a close look at it, and it is a more rounded shape to the front of the fairing, different seating positions. So TVS working continuously on upgrading and improving these very, very trick TVS 310RR Apaches. There's Kim Min-jae. I would say he has underperformed expectations so far this weekend, the young South Korean. He finished 12th. Best time 147.6 in the race. So he's pretty much on that pace now. But his results during the season have been somewhat better. He's been training a lot, so he's normally to be found at or near the front of the chasing group. Motorcycle racing, not a huge sport in South Korea, although it does have an enthusiastic following, but no established international racetracks there. So Kim Min-jae has been, in addition to competing in the Asia Road Racing Championship, has also been competing in the Malaysian Superbike Championship. So that's warm-up. That was a very quick time from Ramdan Rosley, 145.159. Sartak Chavan, second in race 1 yesterday, second on the timing screens now, 145.8, another really good time. Chirant Vishwanath, who's shown promise all weekend, perhaps he can do a bit more this afternoon, was third. Luis Miguel fourth. Hiroki Ono fifth. Quiet little morning ride out for him. Rendy third yesterday, 146.8. Seventh was Hunter Corney, who had a really good race yesterday and is getting better and better. And Raksit Sahari Dave did a 147.4. He was 8th quickest. 9th was Leandro Paredes, 147.4. It's a decent time, showing improvement there for the Filipino. Jack McCabe, the British rider, 10th quickest. South Korea's Kim Min-jae was 11th. Ramasutra Septiawan and Dexa Alfa Rosel, the wildcards from Indonesia, 12th and 13th. And Nixon Frost, who had a crash in the race yesterday. Good to see him back out on track. He was 14th quickest. That was everybody out on track. So that was a warm-up there. You can see the gorgeous clear blue skies with the mountains and the coconut trees in the foreground. It's an absolutely gorgeous morning here at Pertamina Mandalika on the spectacular island of Lombok. The shores of the Indian Ocean just a couple of 100 meters away. We'll be back very soon with a warm-up session for the Underbone 150s. And as you might imagine, there's a whole lot to talk about there. So stay with us. We're coming to you live from Pertamina, Mandalika for round 4 of the Idemitsu FIM Asia Road Racing Championship. Welcome back, and thank you for being with us on this Sunday morning here at Pertamina Mandalika for the warm-up sessions ahead of race 2, round 4 of the Idemitsu FIM Asia Road Racing Championship. Bit of side-eye there from Nazrul on the number 87 machine as he came out of pit lane, and the reason might be evident from what we can see, which is the slow riding competition. At the beginning of this 10-minute session, there are 30 bikes in this Underbone 150. Somebody is off, the marshals are running.
Yes, that.
Might make out who that is from here.
It looks almost like April's bike with the white helmet, but it's a Yamaha for sure. But yeah, I think it's April. Yeah, 43 April King.
Oh, okay. So yeah, unfortunate for him, he had a crash in the race yesterday after running well. Perhaps that's what Nazrul was looking at.
Yeah, there's a parade going on here.
I'm not quite sure what the game is here. We have 6.5 minutes remaining of a 10-minute warm-up session. So nothing much to see here really, but I think there will be a few hairs being torn out in race control as they look at this. I would join them if only I could. The number 73 on the screen there. Sorry, that was a side eye then from Daniel.
I've processed it twice.
Well, here are two riders getting on with it.
Yeah,
It's good to see. The others should follow, because otherwise there's absolutely no point in coming out for this warm-up session.
indeed, it is a warm-up. And we're just looking at the Vogue machine of Hafizi there, I think. And the Vogue team have been working overnight on that bike. They've been putting it together, and they had a really late night. So, yeah, that's the thing about racing. Behind the scenes, sometimes the teams are working really late hours. And I think Hafiz mentioned it as well in the interview, where he said some days 20 hours non-stop.
Yeah, he did. Well, here's Arya Barshad and Nazrul getting some more time on the bike, having not started yesterday. It's been absolutely plagued with mechanical issues. The 2023 champion. This is pretty alarming stuff, with the track lined by slow-moving riders, including some of the most experienced here. Number 11 going through that phalanx there was Fazrul Sham, and there is Fahmi Bassam, the defending champion. He did a really good job yesterday. Fahmi Bassam, he came through in 3rd and was close enough to the runaway championship leader Husni Al, and those two Uma Yamahas have taken an excursion.
And both of them.
Both of them must have been a bit of target fixation, I guess. But okay.
And the parade continues on around the same turn.
This is a bizarre warm-up session.
I don't think we've seen this in a warm-up. Oh yeah, I was a bit mad about the parade going on. I think.
Or maybe
we got
they
in the
came
way.
up quickly.
Let's see. Yes, exactly. So that's what happened.
That was avoiding action.
Yeah.
So yeah, indeed, race control are going to have something to say about that. This is not what we want at all. Those riders will be absolutely fuming, because they were trying to make something of this session. And yeah, speaking as a former race official, a word is more than overdue. Well, look at this rider, number 202, Dimas Shuli at Moko. What a meeting he's had so far. The Indonesian riding alongside Wayuaji Trilaksana in the Race Tech 60 team. He was fast all day in practice on Friday. He smashed, obliterated the qualifying lap record yesterday morning and won Super Pole. And then he went on to win the race. So it was an absolutely glorious day for Dimas Shuli at Moko. I'm sure he would absolutely love to make it a perfect weekend with another win today, but successive wins don't come that often in the Underbone class. course, that statement has been belied this season by the success. Look at the stones on the circuit there. That's been belied by the success of Husni Zainal Fauzi, who has won 5 races on the bounce. There's a red flag in this session. The riders have themselves to blame. We love underbone racing, but really, guys, you need to do better. You need to have done better in this warm-up session. So best we just get everybody off the circuit, read them the rules as sternly as possible, and wait for them to come back out and entertain us this afternoon. But that was a ridiculous warm-up session. Somebody got in a quick lap, or quick-ish. NJ Sobretodo, the Filipino rider, did a 1:58.6. That was the best they could manage. So with 2 minutes 51 remaining on the clock, those riders will come in. They won't go out again, because it is just a warm-up and nobody was, or very few riders were making the best of it. I just hope there wasn't a crash that we didn't see out on the circuit. I think it's probably just because the track was strewn with gravel, which could have come from the avoiding action that had been taken by Ardeb Ashad and Nazrul Izzat, who were trying to actually have a warm-up session. I feel especially sorry there for Nazrul, because he's had very little track time. Mechanical failure, another mechanical failure for him yesterday, meant that he didn't start the race. Or when he did get on track, he was in another time zone to the rest of the riders. So especially frustrating for the 2023 champion, Nazrul Izzat Bahouddin. So an unexpected warm-up session, unexpected end to the warm-up session, and there are the results, if indeed they mean anything. John Emerson and Guito, quickest, 1:58.118. Then it was his Filipino compatriot, NJ Sobretodo, and then Waiwaji Trilaksana, who obviously managed to get a good lap in. Dawisi Ahmad Sahia for Estremo Yuzi on the Honda, he made something there. Fizi Sapat, it's good to see Vosges on the first screen, and we actually see them there twice. And then Fahmi Bassam, 2:08.6. Ardeb Ashad, we saw trying to make a fist of it. He and his teammate Nazrul Izzat, they were running together to try and make something of the warm-up session, to no avail. And there was no time recorded for these riders who were just dawdling around. So hopefully they'll be sent to the naughty corner in their respective pit boxes. You can see how many riders we've got here. And so there they are. So the next session up will be warm-up session for the AP250s, and before that we'll be going to Daniel, who is with the ever-improving Rocco Sessler.
So I'm with the young German Rocco Sessler. So Rocco, the start of the season, it was still a learning curve, and then now in FP3 you were contesting with some of the best times, and as you were telling me, it could have been even faster, and then unfortunately the front went away. But can you tell us, what has been the biggest improvement from the start of the season?
So for sure I changed my riding style a lot. We looked at the data with Yuichi, and I did some big mistakes with the 600cc because I came from the 300cc, so I still had things to change. And on this event, I don't know why, but it just went really well from the beginning on. and it's just a different feeling. I feel very comfortable. We have a perfect setup. I have no problems, and of course I crashed in FP3, but it was because I just pushed too much over the limit, and I know I can do way better than what happened in qualifying in race 1, and the goal will be to fight in the front group for sure.
So you were talking to me earlier about the fronts not feeling quite right in qualifying, and then in the race after lap 6, again, very similar pace to the guys in front. What do you think you can change to either improve it or change it altogether?
We have to see, because from qualifying my confidence was still not really good, and that also led in towards to the race, so I just had to build up my confidence lap by lap. And I will try my best in warm-up. I try to push from the beginning on to get some good lap times in. And it's, I think, only 15 minutes or 20, and just to get a good pace there already. So I'm really prepared for the race, and I can prove it for myself.
So how much harder is it riding a super sports bike in Mandalika, because it flows at incredible speeds? Is it tougher to manage?
You might think it's harder, but for me, I like this track a lot. And probably also because I'm more a tall rider, I can handle it pretty good. So I feel very comfortable on this track. It's the best track by far, and we'll see what I can do.
All right, so last one. This season now has been building up very nicely for you. This weekend is looking fantastic. So 2 more rounds after this. What's the goal for the end of the season?
For sure to keep it consistently in the front. So top 10 always. Of course, FP1 will be always a little bit difficult, but to be in the front and really to go towards the front group and be able to fight there, and maybe we'll get a podium towards the end. So
can't wait to see it. Good luck for this this last race for this weekend, Rocco.
Idemitsu IRG5. Start like a rocket and ship like silk with super bike-proven nano-tailored oil. Ultra-protective Quintec guard technology distills the wisdom of oil experts. 5 protective benefits in harmony unleash the peak performance of your engine. Nano Silky Tech ensures extra smooth upshifting at high RPM. Rocket starts, silky shifts. Idemitsu IRG5.
It's a glorious Sunday morning here at Pertamina Mandalika, and this is the third and final day of round 4 of the Idemitsu FIM Asia Road Racing Championship. I'm Barry Russell, and together with Daniel Bogers, we're bringing you the warm-up sessions, some of our views and insights on what happened yesterday, and some interviews too with riders. So thank you for being with us. We've had the Underbones and the TVS Asia One Make Championship warm-ups. Now we're on to the AP250s, and as we watch there, number 65 Chao Vietnam and the number 44 of Reach Takahira. Just to say, yesterday, what a remarkable race it was. It was quite underbony, wasn't it, Daniel?
It was.
But yeah, but amidst all of that, there was a really composed performance from Fadila RB Aditama, who came in as the championship leader and extended that lead because his closest rival in the championship, Gritapat, came in P3, so he just stretched that lead a little bit out to 30 points. And the number 57 here, Daniel Shami on the Uma Racing Yamaha, absolutely delighted to see him on the podium yesterday for the first time for him and for Uma Racing in the AP250 class. So it was a brilliant performance as other riders around him fell. There were a whole hatful of DNFs yesterday, just to give you an idea. Chandra Hermawan, of the front runners, Chandra Hermawan and Reach Takahira, I think they exited together. Murabul Bitoni, who had really starred throughout practice and qualifying, smashing the lap record to take pole position, but he crashed out yesterday. We understand he's all right. It looked like a heavy crash, but according to his teammates that we spoke to on the way out yesterday, he bounced okay. So we'll be looking out for him this morning. But yeah, some of the key players fell. I think Reach Takahira on the TY Antares Yamaha, he would have been particularly disappointed, pushing as he is for his first podium finish in the AP250s, and he goes especially well here at Mandalika.
It's amazing to think that we're still waiting for Reach Takahira's first podium in the AP250 class.
Yeah, what did you make of his exit yesterday? Was that last lap hot-headedness?
Yeah, I think maybe just a bit of desperation. It didn't happen in Motegi, where it would have been ideal on home territory. So he ran so well from the start till the finish, and it just a little bit too much at the end. And you could see the cold tears on the rears of the AP250 bikes was like nothing I've ever seen. And it's just because you go through.
Oh! And down goes Johan Reeves Emmanuel. I think he landed okay. Oh, he's going to leave his bike there. Somebody else's problem. And the marshals, as ever, go quickly with the straps and the poles so that they can get that out of harm's way as quickly as possible. But he will know that with 4 minutes remaining, there's not a whole lot he can do. There's the Kawasaki of Andy Fadley. We saw them going well, Daniel, on Friday in practice in particular, but that didn't convert into race performance for him or Aiki Oshii.
Yeah, it's strange because they really looked on a mission all throughout Friday, and they thought, wow, the Kawasaki's really starting to come together, but maybe in the race situation just had not enough clear ground for them to really utilize the bike's power band. I think that's always been the concern, because you could see whenever they were behind someone, they had to run much wider, much earlier on the exits as well. So in a group, that becomes very difficult.
Yeah. Let's see what they can do this afternoon. I just noticed going through on our screen there the very distinctive Cardinals factory Yamaha with Faraz Putra Fadil on board. He He made his mark finally.
Yeah.
In AP250s, but with a really good P5 finish, just 4 seconds off the winner.
Yeah, it was in sync with Daniel Shami's rise as well. Both the Malaysian team Yamahas rising out of nowhere. They were really just far behind, just playing in the points, and suddenly they look like podium potential.
That's it. So yeah, we hope to see and welcome Cardinals and of course Faris Putra to the AP250 podium. Kritapat Cancun, as I mentioned earlier, he finished third yesterday, so points deficit to the winner, who's his main rival in the championship. So RB stretched his lead to exactly 30 points. Nice and crowded out there. There goes Kritapat, first time at Mandalika, so putting himself on the podium, no mean achievement. And the 222 in shot is Joshua Mbeo. He made his presence felt, and the number 99, no less, is the Honda of is number 99 of Gary Salim. So Kritapat, he's being some people around here are calling him Mr. Sunday. He want him to take you on a Sunday. So the AP250 is Mr. Sunday, the number 39. Let's see what he can pull off. But it was a really composed, fast, clever performance by the winner, Fadila Arbi, who made it look difficult for everybody else to really get on terms with him. But lots of these riders are going to be doing it, no less than Kritapat. It's crucial for him to start to narrow that gap. Having a quiet weekend and a bit of a quiet season by his standards is Chao Vietnam for Honda Racing Vietnam. More Vietnamese riders coming into the Asia Road Racing Championship, and he is the North Star that has encouraged them to come in there. So it's always good to see him. Race winner in 2024, and quite a handful of podiums he's scored as well, Chao Vietnam, but so far this season, not so much. Currently sitting 12th in the championship with podium finish at Buriram, where he was third in race 2. So he's got Aiki Yoshi behind him. Aiki Yoshi, as Daniel was saying earlier, was really quick on Friday. He was either second or third fastest on combined times. And so, as Kawasaki fans, or at least speaking personally as a Kawasaki fan, I was getting excited about seeing the prospect of seeing the Kawasaki's on the podium in AP250s once again. This, of course, is the ZX25R 4-cylinder machine, which sounds absolutely fabulous as it revs up to 14,000. It is limited here. As we know, in AP250s we have 3 very differently configured machines: 4-cylinder Kawasaki, the 2-cylinder Honda CBR 250 RR, and the Yamaha R3. There's Daniel Shami, who looks like he's had a little bit of an excursion. His chain is dangling off the side of the bike there, you can see. So he's going to need help to get back. That chain is properly broken, but it's happened in warm-up. So the hand up for help there. I'm sure the marshals aren't too far away, but that's the end of the session. And just looking here at lap times, 1:45.779 was Murabel's pole winning time. 1:46.3 is a very, very good time in warm-up from Kritapat, who's really got this Pertamina Mandalika circuit sorted out now. That would have been the fastest time, almost the fastest time in the race yesterday, but there you go. The new emerging Thailand star, Kritapat Kankum for Yamaha Thailand Racing Team, 146.321. Also on a very good time, his championship rival with a 30-point edge. Fadila Arbi Aditama for Astra Honda. And then Daniel Sharmi, third quickest for Uma Racing Yamaha. Broke his chain at the end of the session. Aldiaz Axel for Yamaha Bam Yamalu was fourth quickest. Then it was Chandraher Mohan, always threatening but crashed out yesterday in a wild ride. Galanghendra Pratima also went well yesterday. He was sixth quickest. Irfan Ardiansha, seventh yesterday and seventh in warm-up. Murabel Vitoni, good to see him back on board after his crash yesterday. And then it was Irfan Haikal, who was on pole position in 2024. He was ninth quickest, and then Richard Joshua Mbeo. Davina Brittani was 11th. Calvin Kintal for Idemitsu Honda Racing India was 12th. Jumping on to yesterday's P5 finisher, Faraz Putra. And then it was Fadil Al-Ghassani Priadi. Chao Vietnam was 18th quickest. Rish Takahira, who was a late crasher yesterday, down in 18th. Alfred Jacob Sablai for SDG Hog Pro Honda Philippines was 23rd. 25th, Shenchen Zhang, teammate and team owner for Rish Takahira. And Long Nanzi, the Hong Kong rider for Victor Racing Team, did a 153. So quiet session for him too. As we've got coming up another mid-season interview, this time with Joe Francis, who is a competitor in the ASB1000 for Victor Racing Team. So let's go down to Daniel.
So I'm sitting in the Victor Racing garage with Joe Francis. So Joe, you came into this championship in Sepang in round 2, and we've seen a steady improvement since then. How would you rate the progress so far?
I think so far it's been good, because Sepang, what many people didn't know, I hadn't ridden a bike for probably 15 months, not ridden a single bike, because I had a big injury in 2024. I broke my leg in 3 places, so I didn't ride or race anything until I arrived in Sepang on the Friday. So Sepang was obviously just getting used to riding the bike again, and the fitness wasn't there. And then Motegi, we made another step closer. I think we were 10 seconds closer to the win. So that's how I'm looking at it, not position, just how much we are off the win. And then obviously yesterday we were only 18 seconds off and not far off the group really.
So it seems, especially in Mandalika, you and the bike are working really well. So is the Yamaha just suited to the way this track is laid out?
Yeah, because obviously there's not many straights. There's only really 1 or 2 bits where you need a lot of power, and that's where we lose our time, funny enough. So everywhere else, when I ride behind people, I don't lose any time. If anything, I gain through most of the track. But in these couple of places, what we lose is just, it makes it hard. Otherwise, I think we'd be consistently half a second a lap quicker, maybe more.
So as you mentioned, like, you've been away from 2 wheels for a while, and you're still getting the rhythm since Sepang, and now we see it coming. But what about the bike? Has anything changed bike-wise?
Just changing the settings. We're just making me more comfortable, and trying to we're trying to make small steps, but it's not easy because we're not a factory team, so we haven't got the backing. We obviously, we don't have, this bike doesn't have any factory parts, very standard. So compared to the other manufacturers, especially Honda, BMW, Ducati, the power is a big difference. But in terms of turning, the Yamaha, it always turns. We've had slight trouble this weekend in Motegi with really bad chatter. But in yesterday's race, we made a few changes, and it helped it quite a bit. So hopefully this morning warm-up we'll change something else and then try make another step then. And then if we can find maybe a bit more, I think we can be close to fighting.
So I think with what you've mentioned, Sepang becomes the worry, because you have 2 huge straights, and that's where power really matters. Is there anything that can be done other than just riding hard in the turns?
That's it, but there's obviously, through the corners, there's only a maximum so much, and I'm having to tell myself out there, I have to pick where to find the time and not, I know I make my time in the corners, but I can't override it, because then, like yesterday, a couple of times I made a couple of mistakes, and with this, you can't make mistakes because we haven't got the power to get us out the problem. We have to just be perfect every corner, and I think my whole race was within 0.5 of a second, so it's consistent, but we just need now a step, but I don't think that will happen without more power, if anything.
So looking at just your racing CV, you've had an impressive youth career coming up as well, and now that you're back into racing again after your injury, what's the future looking like for the remainder of the season and for the years to come?
Well, I went and did 2 weeks ago, I did a round in the British Superstock on a friend's bike, so just like a track day bike, and I think I qualified 7th, so being out here, the speed, this championship's very hard, like the front and, well, the whole depth you see, we're not that far, especially here, the gap's not that far between like 12 bikes, so I really like it here because I feel like it makes me a better rider, the level's very high. When I last come in 2018, I feel like the difference now, the level of the Asian Championships, even harder. So for me, if anything, if I had the choice, I'd choose to race here because I like the championship, I like the people, the countries, the tracks, everything about it I really like. But obviously, if something comes up in the British Championship alongside, I wouldn't say no because the more track time we can get, the better.
Well, thank you so much, Joe. Good luck for the final race this weekend, and we're looking forward to seeing your progress this season.
Thank you. Cheers.
Idemitsu IRG7. Race-bred nano-tailored oil for enhanced acceleration and horsepower. Even in harsh conditions, the 7 protective benefits of septic guard technology keep your engine performing at its peak. Even a split-second advantage can change everything. Born to win. Idemitsu IRG7.
We're on track here at Pertamina Mandalika on Sunday morning, and we're talking through the warm-up sessions, looking at who is showing some form or some changes, but most of all talking about what happened in race 1 yesterday. That's me, Barry Russell, together with Daniel Bogers, who is commuting up and down from our slightly elevated commentary position to pit lane, where he's been doing some really insightful interviews with some of the more interesting competitors that we've got here this weekend in the Asia Road Racing Championship. There's an interesting competitor on your screen, pushing really hard in this very early stage of a 15-minute warm-up session, is Anupam Samoon. Second in the championship. He came in just a handful of points behind championship leader Adinanta Putra. Crashed out in the very early stages of the race, which Adinanta then went on to win. So Anupam looking for redemption this afternoon, absolutely for sure. Running just ahead of him is Wayne Agroho, who led, I think I'm right in saying, Daniel, at least half yesterday's race. Ended up being outfoxed at the very end by Adinanta Putra. No shame in that. It was a wonderful performance by Adinanta, but another great performance by Wayne Agroho, building on his P2 that we saw in Motegi.
Yeah,
And he was clearly just so delighted with that result.
it was brilliant. The Super Sports race yesterday, I'm definitely going to watch it again, because it was so 250-esque. You had riders who tailed off midway, came back in right at the end, drama with late crashes from Damok and Kip, and then these Honda boys suddenly coming in so strong in the last 2 laps. It was just so brilliant to watch. It had action every single lap that we went around.
Yeah, this is such a thrilling class with such tight margins between the riders, so it really does come down to racecraft. We saw some good racecraft yesterday from the 3 Honda Racing Thailand riders we've got on our screen at the moment. The best finisher was Kitsada, and that was good to see him coming back after a very lackluster performance in Motegi. Tanat Longpliao was the next rider up. He scored a P5. And the number 20, Jack Rapat, some way adrift of those. He finished 17 seconds down on the winner in P11, so he's going to be looking for a bit more this time. Jack Rapat and Kitsada were P1 and P2 last weekend in the Chang International Championship. See what we're looking at here. There is the number 27.
Yeah, heartbreak for Cosmo right at the end. He tried to make a move up. He was coming in strong, and then just ultimately got muscled out, and it was so unfortunate. If you look at the race result, he finished 7th, nearly second and 1.3 adrift, but I'll tell you what, he was right up there with the top 3. He was about to try, and then I think it was Tanat that sent the front wheel in, and then ultimately pushed them both out of podium contention.
Yeah, Tanat was really aggressive throughout that race, notably so. And with the experience and racecraft that Kazma has, that was quite a surprise to see him muscled out right at the end there. He'll be looking for something a lot better today.
Sorry, Barry. I was just going to say, you mentioned that, speaking of that situation, Honda Thailand, this is so much better from them. From being so quite a distance back in Motegi, further than we would have expected from them, to being right in the battle for the podium and potentially a race win. That was great to see.
Yeah, very much so. Enjoyed that. As a resident of Thailand and a long-time follower of Honda Racing Thailand, I mean, they really do have a fantastic garage full of technicians as well as the riders. Team coach, none other than Ratapak Willarot, former GP racer. So yeah, lots of quality there, and it's always good when you see that coming through. The rider number 44 there, he's going to be looking for better luck today after a late crash for for Kip after he was looking like a podium finisher yesterday.
Yeah, I think Kip, it's not the first time we've seen that from him, and it's unfortunate. I think maybe just misgauging how much grip he does have, or just how the bike is towards the end, because it looked like he really can put in a good fight, and we've seen it in a few races this season actually that he really had the pace. It's just the occasional incident for him.
Yeah, exactly. And knowing his quality and the grit that we have seen from him, I mean, in 2023, my goodness, for most of that season, even though he didn't actually win the championship, he was setting the pace every time out. So expect more from Caroline and Powie this afternoon for sure. There's the number 89 of Wahyu Nugroho, who's having a fantastic time riding for Yamaha Racing Indonesia. So is the bike behind him. The rider on the bike behind him is Ferozi Torikatula. First Supersport 600 podium for the gritty Indonesian, who somehow managed to finish second in the AP250 Championship last year after breaking a leg and missing a race. So the grit and determination of Ferozi is well known and very much respected around these parts. Let's see if he can rinse and repeat today. There goes Tanat, really looking motivated, as is Kitsada, the number 18. Kazma is the fastest rider out there at the moment. A few hundredths quicker, or about a tenth quicker than Tanat. And then it's Ferozi and Kitsada. Helmi Asman. It was a rotten day for Idemitsu Honda Racing Malaysia yesterday, Daniel.
Yeah, pretty much effectively everyone that should have been strong just couldn't finish the race, and it was a strange one as well. I mean, between Helmi and Anupap, yeah, this racing incident, and then Kip was the hope after Damok's error as well. Sharford and Asman again looking so strong this weekend. Really, question marks were raised on Friday. Kip and Damok just couldn't get on the pace, and suddenly on qualifying day it all came together, and you really had a feeling that, oh, now we're about to see Sharford and Asman and Kari Dampawi back at their best, but yeah, in the race, just so unlucky.
Yeah, that was a hard knock taken as well by Sharafuddin Asman, and we saw him as we were leaving the circuit yesterday, hobbling quite badly, but he is out this time. Let's see to what extent he's able to compartmentalize whatever he's suffering from that particular injury.
Yeah, if memory serves me well, it was the left leg, wasn't it? So that's going to be the shifter leg.
Yeah. As we said, this rider, Kasper Daniel Kazmayedin, looking for better things. Still with a shout in the championship, but he can't really afford any more poor results. There's certainly no more DNFs. He had one DNF in Buriram in the very first race. He won race 2, and since then he scored 2 P2s, one each in Motegi and Malaysia. He is P4 in the championship on 88 points to 133 of championship leader Adinanta Putra. Adinanta, he really looked like a champion in the making, didn't he? Yesterday, the way that he rode, there was just the right amount of aggression and speed and confidence in his riding. I really think he expected himself to win.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I feel in the Super Sport 600 class and ASB, it's very clear when a rider has full control of the bike, and that's what it looked like for Adinanta. He just completely understands everything that the bike is telling him, and he knows when to take a calculated risk, and he does it so well.
Yeah, and effectively that's a new bike he was riding as well, because he absolutely totaled the bike he was riding in pre-practice 2 on Friday.
Indeed, yeah.
That was a massive crash. Didn't didn't shake or stir Adenanta at all, but the bike was an absolute mess. So yeah, that says even more about the confidence he's got in the bike and the team.
Yep.
So shout out there for Astra Honda. There goes Kazma. We've seen him at the top of the timing screens on many, many occasions this weekend at Pertamina Mandalika. 137.6 is the time that he's posted as his best so far. The only rider into the 37s as it happens. Imaseki, 13th quickest. Bob Samoon, as we said, after that setback to his championship challenge yesterday, exiting very early on, which allowed his main championship rival to go through and win. So he's looking for much better things today, and he really needs to do whatever he can to finish in front of Adenanta, who is not only riding superbly in every race this season, but is also on home territory this weekend for round 4 of the Idemitsu FIM Asia Road Racing Championship. Number 99 there, another very notable rider, and it's good to see him back in the mix, if only for this race. That's Dimaseki Pratama on the MS Glow for Men Honda. Beautifully turned out machine there. I'm going to go and have a look at that during the pit walk. Pit walk is coming up in about 45 minutes time at 10:30. So if you are at the circuit, or if you're in the nearby town of Kuta, then do come along and meet some of the riders, take some photographs, get yourself some merchandise. And there is Kitsada, back on form after Motegi. Number 31, Tanat Longpliao, who is a really good quality rider, really established himself now. Second season in Supersport 600 for Honda Racing Thailand, and looking very much the part. Last weekend he was racing a superbike at Chang International in their local championship, and finished second only to Apiwat Wongtananon, and only by a few hundredths of a second. Wongtananon on very good performance, whether on a litre bike or a 600cc bike. The 15-minute session flew by. Daniel, every time I looked up at the timing screen, was the quickest. And after this session, Daniel Boders will be having a chat with Andy Padley, the 2 times former AP250 champion, and a rider who looks like he's coming back to form after a long layoff with some horrible injuries. So I'm looking forward personally to hearing from Andy, so stay with us to that. We'll just take a look at the results. Bit of cloud bubbling up there in that blue sky. Not threatening. Actually rather beautiful. There you go. Kasper Daniel Kasmaidin, the only rider to make it into the 137s, 137.665 for the Malaysian star. And then it was Tanat Longpliao, just a few tenths behind him. Karalidin Pawi coming back into form, unfortunately in a crash yesterday. He was 3rd quickest. Then was Ferozi Torakatullah, who we welcomed to the Supersport podium yesterday, 4th quickest. Then it was Helmi Azman for Idemitsu Honda Racing Malaysia. And then Anupab Samoon put in a 138.3. Kitsada Tanachot, who we were just looking at, 138.3 for him. And then Adenanta Putra was 8th quickest. Then it was Wayne Agroho, 2nd yesterday, and a long time in the lead. Sherifuddin Azman crashed yesterday. Good to see him back on the bike. 11th was Herjan Atner, coming into form, but another crasher yesterday. McKinley Karl-Paz came good late in the race yesterday. He was 12th quickest this morning. Dimaseki was 13th. Rocco Sessler, whom we heard from earlier, 14th. And 15th was Reza Danica Arens. Jakrapat Pudisan for Honda Racing Thailand, 16th, and Shajin Tong put in a 141.863. So I think we're ready to go to Daniel and Andy Mohammed Fadli. So stay with us. We have got a 20-minute warm-up session coming up for the ASB1000s and a lot to talk about in that. So stay with us. We're going to go down to Daniel any moment now.
Some with a very familiar face in the AP250 paddock, Andy Mohammed Fadli, former champion, of course, back once again on the grid, but this time back in green, and it's so good to see that. Tell me, how has this season been? And we've seen the bike slowly improving, but compared to last season, it's not as close as we hoped it would be.
Yeah, this year I joined again with Kawasaki, but the regulation is new regulation, and also we are very struggling this year. But the team a lot to do effort to give me the best bike, and also you see every race I'm very struggling because the regulation is still not fair for me. But in round 4 we have improved with the engine little bit, because qualifying I'm already on the P9, so close with the top group, but never still not enough. Yeah.
So yeah, that's one thing I noticed, because this week the bike is much better.
Yeah.
Can you tell us exactly what was changed?
Exhaust. We have a new exhaust from Yoshimura, and also the team do the best setup for me in Mandalika, and also me. I have a main experience here for national championship, and we will see for race 2. I will do my best, and also I will try to fight for the podium.
We can't wait to see that. Now, 2 more rounds left after this one. So once we finish here in Mandalika, we go to 2 tracks where top speed is very important. Do you think there's a even better chance over there?
The chance is so close. The chance is I think no chance, because the regulation, when the regulation still not changed, like give me more RPM or more wide for next run, that will good for us.
So, as it is now, for the next 2 rounds, what is the target for the team? Because, okay, this weekend we can see that the time is getting there.
Yeah,
so potentially a good result coming. So what is the target for the remaining rounds?
Yeah, of course, the target always we want on the podium, and all sponsor want watching us on the television fighting with another bike. So let's see today and last round.
Can't wait to see it. Good luck for today's race.
Thank you.
Idemitsu engine oils are precisely formulated for meticulously engineered Japanese car engines. We are committed to delivering optimal performance. We fulfill this commitment through 5 ultra-protective benefits known as Quintec Guard. They unleash the peak performance of treasured cars. Drive anywhere with confidence. Feel the excitement in your heart. The highest quality engine oils in the history of Idemitsu.
Welcome back to Mandalika. It's an absolutely gorgeous morning here under blue skies with a few little puffy white clouds. The conditions here warmer, brighter than they have been on Friday and on Saturday. And what was a blustery wind has given way to a much more gentle breeze. So different conditions for the riders today. We had some fantastic racing yesterday, and we'll have more fantastic racing today is guaranteed, but it might look a little bit different because of the different conditions. There's a rider who knows his way around Pertamina Mandalika, scored his first podium in ASB1000 last year in round 4, which was also here, and he qualified third. Crashed out of the race, unfortunately. Crashed out together with Kito Abe. So there was a lot of surprises in the race yesterday. So there goes Lachlan. He'll be hoping for better things this afternoon. But there, a rider who has been on the pace and with consistently good pace all the way through the weekend, from the first turning of the wheels on Friday morning right up into the checkered flag yesterday. It's fair to say that Hafiz Shirin Abdullah on the JDT racing team Ducati Panigale has been peerless this weekend. Looks really ominous for his rivals, but the form of the bike, the rider and the team really seems to have come together now. He picked up a win in Mandalika, as we know, and another win yesterday, so things really clicking now in that JDT racing team. So he's won the last 2 races. He's really going to take some stopping this afternoon. We heard some of his rivals, like Nakarin, say they were going to go and have a really good think about what they can do to match the pace of the Malaysian star. So let's see what they can come up with. They're going to have a combination of extra pace and some on-track tactics to try not to let him get away early in the race. Everything going well so far this weekend. It's been a perfect weekend so far for Hafiz and JDT. Of course, flying the colours of Johor state in southern Malaysia. But just for once, he's not the fastest rider on track in this warm-up session. That is Lachlan Effis, who's done 1:36.094. That's a really good, time. Actually, very good race pace from Lachlan Effis if he can convert that. Best time in the race yesterday, 1:35.2 for Hafiz, 1:39.3. 1:35.3 or 4 for the other top riders. Speaking of which, there was the rider who held on to P2 yesterday under increasing pressure for a good part of the race from Zakwan Zaidi, his former teammate in the Honda Asia Dream Racing with Showa team last year. In fact, they ran together for 2 seasons as they got data together. Nakarin and Farid Istihar from Indonesia, and Zakwan Zaidi from Malaysia. For this season, that former team split into its national components, so Nakarin on board for Honda Racing Thailand, and doing a very, very good job indeed. He opened the season with a a double win in Buriram, his home circuit. Since when he scored a couple of fourth places, a few finishes further down when he had some problems, and second yesterday. So he's on 108 points, and that is 9 back from the new championship leader after yesterday, Hafiz Shirin. And next in line, also on 108, is Kito Abe, who, as I mentioned earlier, crashed out together with Lachlan Epis yesterday. So Kito will definitely be looking for better things. And so will Lachlan. They're running together with his friend and compatriot Zakwan Zaidi is Azroy Hakim Anwar, the number 20. He just went ahead as they peeled into turn 1. Just ahead of them is the distinctive light blue BMW of Apiwat Wongtananon. Apiwat, another crasher yesterday. But more generally speaking, Apiwat Wongtananon is getting to grips with that A1 Energy BMW. Because he's in Thailand and it's a Malaysia-based team, he hasn't had any extra time on the bike in addition to what he's done in ARRC. But he's making that work now as his illustrious Malaysian teammate, Aslan Shah Kamaruzaman. Aslan looking very much on the pace. He finished P4 yesterday. Still no podium for Aslan in 2025. There he is. Number 25, always with arguably the best helmet design in ARRC. Behind him, he's got the number 12 of Cameron Dunker, the 17-year-old Australian. Cam Dunker came through to 6th yesterday, despite suffering from a bout of food poisoning he picked up on Friday night, which would have sapped his strength. Hopefully he's back to full strength for today, because Cam Dunker was getting better and better on Friday, and really coming into form on the Moto Go Yamaha. There is Aslan, and looking at the timing screens, Hafiz has got a best time of 1:35.77. 10th behind him is Kito Abe. There was some very edgy rivalry going on in qualifying yesterday, as Kito Abe was trying to follow Hafiz. Hafiz was having none of it, so they kept speeding up and slowing down and looking around. They went back into pit lane and glared at each other, and eventually it came to naught, but they still got P1 and P2 in qualifying, so they will be alongside each other again in race 2 this afternoon. Apiwat Wongtananon, currently 3rd quickest. He qualified 4th. So as I was saying, good speed coming from that BMW, and Apiwat, he just needs a little bit more luck this afternoon and he will be in the mix. So with Lachlan staying on, with Apiwat staying on, with Kito Abe staying on their bike, the race this afternoon, especially with these different conditions, could be a very different race this afternoon. But, and the big but, is that Hafiz Shirin, whatever the conditions, is looking absolutely supreme. The rider on your screen there knows him very well as anyone. Aslan Shah Kamaruzaman, now 40 years old, but in really good form, fit, happy, settled, enjoying his racing. Will he be able to convert that into his first podium of the 2025 season? Is one of the questions that we have ahead of race 2 this afternoon. And Aslan has thank you very much, gone top in this warm-up session with 135.5, compared with his qualifying time of 135.9. So, finding some good speed, Aslan Shah, as well as his teammate, Apiwat. Let's hope they have the speed and the pace to be fully competitive this afternoon. Two Malaysians there for Idemitsu Honda Racing Malaysia. Zakwan Zaidi, champion in 2022. Ashroy Hakim Anwar, the number 20, class rookie, even though we know him so well, and he has raced superbikes back in his home country, Malaysia. This is his first season on superbikes in the Asia Road Racing Championship. And indeed, in the championship standings, he is in contention. Currently on 102 points, so that's 15 points back from championship leader Hafiz Shirin. So there's genuinely 5 riders in contention. Zakwan Zaidi is on just behind Ashroy on 101. Nakarin and Keto both on 108, and championship leader Hafiz is on 117, so really tight. Looking there at Andy Farid Izdihar, it's good to see him back after injury. He missed Motegi, unfortunately. His pace this weekend suggests he's not fully fit. We hope to see him to continue recover and improve. His 3rd season now in ASB1000. He came in sensationally in 2023 as a class rookie, after having won the Supersport 600 Championship in 22. He had a very decent 2024. A bit quieter this season. Yet to see Andy Farid on the podium, as he's a little bit hobbled with injury still. Probably won't come this afternoon. Kito Abe, who shown us this weekend that he's got some real edge to his character in the form of that confrontation, that goading of Hafiz Shirin that we saw yesterday during qualifying. It was treated with some disdain by Hafiz, but clearly Kito Abe and his SDG team were enjoying the needle. All in fun, perhaps, but let's see how that rivalry works out on track this afternoon. Kito Abe keeps it black side down this afternoon. No issue there, just looking down at the gear lever. So he'll be getting back and getting that fixed. 4.5 minutes remaining in this 20-minute session. We're back on board with Lachlan Epis, who came out quickly. His best time was 1:36 in warm-up in the race yesterday. Well, he wasn't on board long enough to really judge, but his qualifying time was 1:35.44. So really knows his way around. Joe Francis, we heard from that nice in-depth interview he did with Daniel a little earlier this morning. Hope you were watching, but that was nicely insightful. Loves racing in ARRC and racing in this part of the world, and commented on the level of this championship. He last competed here a few years ago and commented that the level has gotten better and better on board the R1, as you can see, of Victor Racing. So not with the factory bling of many of his rivals, but on this Mandalika circuit, which is fast and flowing, they're at less of a power disadvantage, because whether in stock trim or not, the Yamaha R1 is a beautiful handling machine. Joe, they're running with hard front and hard rear, which he did in the race yesterday, so that seems to suit his style. Really strong rider, Joe Francis, coming back from a nasty injury 2 seasons ago. He shattered his, he said it was his right leg, and so hadn't ridden a motorcycle at all until he joined this series in round 2 at Sepang back in May. So he's coming back. You can see he's a tall rider. The R1 is a small bike, so climbing all over that, but those long levers will give him some advantage of muscling it through the flowing sections of this Pertamina Mandalika International Circuit. There is Azroy Hakim Anwar, P5 yesterday. Said in rather overly modestly to Daniel yesterday that he was learning how to ride fast. Quite sure what that really means, as he is one of the 5 championship contenders. Let's see what Azroy will pull out this afternoon. Of course, we go to his home circuit of Sepang for round 5 next month in October. So very, very strong contender. 5th yesterday, 5th fastest in this session. Hafiz Shirin, quickest 135.4. Dennis Aslan, Kito Abe's done a 135.8. Safwan has done 135.9. Azroy also 135.9, and Apiwat Wongtananon as well. Lakarin, who finished yesterday, 136.9, 136.6, I beg your pardon. But there is the quickest man on Friday practice, quickest man in qualifying on Saturday, your race 1 winner, and he is completing the full set so far of being the quickest rider in morning warm-up. Checkered flag will be out in just 20 seconds from now. So this is Hafiz Shirin's last circuit. That was a 135.9, so even in the warm-up you can see such strong pace from the Malaysian Ducati rider. I think that will very much be it in terms of, to the extent that this is a competitive session, fastest rider is the one on your screen. And I could have said that yesterday or on Friday and it would have been equally true. Let's see if anybody can do anything about his dominance this afternoon in race 2. We've got different conditions, it's brighter, and as I said it earlier, the blustery wind has given way to a much gentler breeze blowing off the shores of the Indian Ocean, just 200 or 300 meters away from where we're talking to you. So no surprises in that warm-up session, but a good run out for all concerned. Because there has just got Cho Yu Zhou ahead of him on the Savitar BMW. And Cameron Dunker has come up with a late quick lap, so looking like he's back up to strength after his food poisoning issues. 135.8 for Cam Dunker. Number 40 is Joe Francis for Victor Racing. He's doing a practice start, the first of those. Next away is going to be Apiwat Wongtananon. Best time for him, 135.9. So the times here pretty tightly clustered. And there goes yesterday's P2 finisher, Nakarin Atirapuvapat for Honda Racing Thailand. 1:35.409 was the time set in warm-up for Hafiz Shirin Abdullah, fellow Malaysian Aslan Shah Kamaruzaman for A1 Energy BMW next up. And then it was Kito Abe, who needs to finish, if he possibly can, in front of Hafiz this afternoon. Cam Dunker going better and better on the MotoGo Yamaha, 4th quickest. Then it was Zakwan Zaidi for Idemitsu Honda Racing Malaysia. His teammate Azroy Hakim Anwar just behind him. Then it was Apiwat Wongtananon for A1 Energy BMW, and Lachlan Effis, the number 83, was 8th quickest in warm-up. Next up, and surprised to see him on the second page of the timing graphic when we see it, was Nakarin Atirapuvapat, 1:36.6. So that was a gentle Sunday morning ride by his standards for Chip Nakarin. And then Andy Farid Izdihar, hopefully recovering and getting stronger. And then Joe Francis did a 1:37. Joe, I beg yours and his pardon. The Savitar Team Asia 1:43.6. They'll be lining up later on this afternoon for race 2. We're going to take a break now. The pit walk is coming up in just 10 minutes time at 11:30 local time. So if you're at the stadium or in nearby Kuta, do come and say hello and see what goes on in pit lane. Get up close and personal with the riders, the teams. And race 1 will be this afternoon, starting at 12:35. So make sure you're with us by 12:30, and I'll be joined by the vocal virtuoso Des Corkill, the voice of ARRC. He will be joining me and Daniel Bogers this afternoon. And if you just want to stay online, we've got another half-season update, which I've been particularly looking forward to, which is from Sal Khan, the Dunlop track support engineer, who's going to give us some insight about tyres. Other than that, we will see you at 12:30 this afternoon. You're at Pertamina Mandalika for round 4 of the Idemitsu FIM Asia Road Racing Championship.
So I'm with Sal Khan from Dunlop, and Sal, a big topic every time we come to Mandalika is tires, tire wear, but this time around it seems to be a bit better compared to the first time we came here, especially.
Calm down a little bit as well. We can actually see the grip levels from the track are very good. And we're actually consuming a bit more rubber, which is nice to see. However, we're still getting very high temperatures. But we've bought something here for 600 and the Superbike to compensate for the heat.
Can you tell us what are the technical differences between the tires before and now?
For the 600, we've made a construction change. So that's kind of helped reduce the heat. It's more heat resistant. For the Superbike, it's a completely new concept, construction, compound. And we've designed that basically for this kind of track, you know, it generates a lot of heat.
So in the thousands, some riders mentioned that the hard is just a slight difference from the medium, but still some riders are running with the mediums, as we saw with Kito Abe. So what do you think that the reason for that might be? Is it just down to rider feel?
Yeah, and I think, to be fair, as I've seen today, 99% have been on the hard rear. So Abe is still continuing with the medium, and I think it's more to do with feel and setting. However, the tyre from the hard versus the medium, comments of no difference in grip, very similar, but just more stability from the hard.
All right, thank you so much, Sal. We'll see you in the grid again later.
No problem. Thanks.
Idemitsu IFG7. Flagship engine oil nano-tailored for high-precision engines. Enhanced performance in 7 ways with super protective septic guard technology, the accumulated wisdom of oil experts. Anti-power loss nanotech keeps your engine performing at its peak for extended periods in harsh conditions. Beat the heat. Idemitsu IFG7.